Good morning. Hi, my name is Jariba. My pronouns are she and her, and I am with BeFor Collective. Very happy to be here with you this morning. It is Tim and myself here for our Yoga Asana Saturday, day after Christmas. So it's a very special day. Again, very happy to have you all with us today. Really, it's just me and Tim. So today's yoga flow, which will be about an hour and a half traditional vinyasa flow, is centered around Christmas. It is very heart and crown chakra oriented. So there will be a lot of back bends and lateral bends, as well as inversions in this particular flow. So we will have our head below our heart a lot today. And the reason being, of course, heart chakra tapping into love, compassion, understanding, and then crown chakra tapping into that spiritual alignment of mind, body, and spirit. This all being representative of this time where we celebrate the birth of Jesus, who is a master teacher. So I have this book, which is titled Guidance for a Spiritual Journey, which is Dr. Daniel Lee Morgan. And I read from this book every day. It's basically spiritual teachings and affirmations that you can read each day of the year. So in my meditative practice, I start my practice with a reading. So yesterday's reading, which of course yesterday was Christmas, was titled The Internal Miracle. So I'm going to read that reading to you all now, and this is representative of why we're doing this particular flow today. Christmas contains the promise of the visible manifestation of Christ in us, and that Jesus, whose birthday Christmas honors, was the fulfillment in us of that original spiritual I am, or Christ. Christ is the divine idea of you and me that was implanted in us from the beginning. Christ is the form of the name that we commonly apply to the man of Galilee, who demonstrated perfection to a greater degree than anyone else ever known. Each of us has within him, her, or they, the Christ, just as Jesus had. And we must look within to recognize and realize our oneness, our divine origin and birth, even as Jesus did. This Christ, or perfect human idea existing eternally in divine mind, is the true spiritual higher self of everyone. You can take on as much of this perfect person as you wish. Christ is the embodiment of all divine ideas, such as intelligence, life, love, substance, and strength. The spirit of Christmas descends to us largely through our becoming still and receiving into ourselves the total glory and impact of the Christmas consciousness as it flows around, in, and through us, as we live with this bright message of peace on earth and goodwill to all. Christmas must come from within ourselves and not from the stores and markets where we purchase gifts. The Christ, or perfect human idea existing eternally in divine mind, is the true spiritual higher self of every individual. It is the eternal miracle ever taking place in you and me. So again, today's flow represents basically the internal miracle of Christmas. And so we're going to move forward in that flow. So of course, anytime that you are practicing with me, just be mindful that you need to do that which serves you. And so I'm going to give you options. I will give you possibilities, and you do that which feels good within your body, that which feels right in your body, that which serves you. So do a vinyasa flow, go straight to downward dog, go to child's pose, use your blocks, use what's available to you to move you into that full potential of your body. So with that said, we will move down to the mat. All right, so we will come down to the mat and we are going to start in child's pose. So in child's pose, you have multiple options for your child's pose. Most important is bring your big toes together. Your knees can either be out wide, so they'll be mat width distance apart, or they can be directly underneath you. Just whatever feels comfortable, do that now. Sit back on your heels and then bring your head forward to the mat. So that means bringing your forehead down to the mat. And in bringing your forehead down to the mat, you can always lift the mat up to you. So that means you can use a block to bring the mat up to you, or a bolster, whatever feels good to you. Your arms can be extended out long in front of you, or you can have them directly by your sides. So whatever position you're in, get comfortable in that position. Begin to quiet and still yourself, resting in the calm of this pose. Letting the inhale and the exhale take over, moving you to a state of peace and alignment. Recognizing that this day after day where we celebrate a master teacher, that our focus is on aligning our mind, body, spirit in this practice during this time that we are on this mat. So we utilize the breath to become one, to move to a state of alignment, to move to a state of calm, serenity, love, and compassion. So with your next inhale, breathe deep from within your belly. Allow that inhale to fill up your lungs, move up into your chest, up into your throat. Hold, and then let it all go with the exhale. We'll do that once again. Move that inhale up through your belly, through your sides, up into your lungs, your chest, to your throat, holding at the top and letting it all go with a big sigh. Now seal your mouth and allow for yourself to return back to your normal inhale and exhale. Knowing that your breath is always here. It is always there to bring you back to that state of calm, peace, still, and compassion for oneself. So from here, in our child's pose, you can flutter open your eyes. And from here, you're going to slide forward, lifting your hips up, bringing them up like you're in a tabletop position. So you're lifting them up towards the sky, but in kneeling position. So they should be at 90-degree angles. So your the back part of your upper leg should be lifted up. And your forehead can be down on the mat, or your chin can be on the mat, whichever is more comfortable to you. You can always bring the mat up to meet you with a block or a bolster, and your arms will be extended out long in front of you. So we are currently in puppy pose. So from your puppy pose, you will lift your head off of the mat so you're looking out. And from here, we're going to thread the needle from puppy pose. So push into your left palm and send your right arm underneath your left arm, coming down onto your right shoulder, bringing your head, the right side of your head to the mat, and thread the needle. So the most important thing is that you're applying some pressure to that right shoulder to open up that shoulder. Now your full right side of your face might not be on the mat, that is just fine. If the extension of your right hand is too much, bring it in. Wherever your hand is, if it's moved in, move it back out. And from here, push into your left palm, lifting yourself back off of the mat, and bring your right hand back out into your puppy pose. From here, you're going to push into that right palm, sending that left arm under and through the right, underneath that right arm, that center right arm, to thread the needle to the right. So the left side of your face will be on the mat. Your right hand can be extended out long, or you can bring your right hand underneath your right shoulder. Again, it's about what feels good in your body, so do that which feels good. Most important thing is that you are providing some pressure to that left shoulder to open up that left shoulder this beautiful Saturday morning. From here, push into that right palm, extending that left hand back down and out in front of you, back into your puppy pose. And from here, you're going to slide forward onto your stomach, keeping your elbows underneath your body. Your arms will be extended out in front of you. There's Timmy's head. And he's backing up because he doesn't want his head in the screen. But your arms will be extended out in front of you like a number 11. And so what we're going to do is we're going to engage in our torso, really pushing our pelvis down into the mat, pushing into the tops of our feet, and sending our heart forward, pushing into those forearms, using those hands to pull back, to lift our chest and our heart forward, our gaze up into a Sphinx pose. So if you think about the African Egyptian Sphinx, this is what your body should be looking like right now. This heart opener, sending that love, that compassion, that joy out into the world. So from here, you can release your Sphinx, but you're going to stay in this position because we're going to move into a forearm plank. So tuck your toes in and lift, keeping your hands exactly where they are. Just lift your body up and off the mat, making sure that your hips are in alignment with your lifted body. So your hips should not be shifted too low or raised too high. You should be one straight line. From here, you're going to begin to walk your feet in so that you come into dolphin. So begin to lift your hips up to the sky and walk your feet in to your arms. So you're basically doing a downward facing dog, but in a forearm plank. This is called a dolphin. Your hips are lifted up to the sky. Your toes are up, your toes are on the mat. Your heels are probably lifted, and your body is in a V. From here, we're going to hold for 2 more breaths, walking in as close as you can. And then from here, drop your knees to the mat and come up into your neutral tabletop position. So in your tabletop, you're going to make a table with your body. So that means that your back is straight, Your neck is long, you're looking down to the floor. Your shoulders are directly over your wrist. Your knees, or excuse me, your hips are directly over your knees. So you're in a neutral tabletop. From here, we're going to move into some rounds of cat-cow, my favorite. So in your cat-cow, do whatever feels good to you. So if you need extra movement, rolling hips, rolling your neck, do that which serves. So with your inhale, drop your belly to the mat, lift your tailbone and your gaze up to the sky for cow. Exhale, tucking in your tailbone and your chin, send the back of your heart up to the sky for cat. Inhaling for cow. And exhaling for cat. Continuing to do that at your own pace, at your own breath. Again, if other movement is needed, please feel free to do what feels good. Remembering that the most important thing in this practice is to be aligned with that breath, to be aligned in mind, body, and spirit, and do that serves that mind, body, and spirit. So 2 more rounds of whatever you are doing at this moment. One more round. And whenever you are complete, you will all meet in a neutral tabletop. So from here, you are going to extend your right arm out like you're shaking someone's hand. So that means you're going to put that weight into that left hand. And then from here, you're going to kick that left leg up and back. So we're doing bird dog. That leg will be extended directly out from your hip. And so from here, we're going to hold for 5 counts, lifting as high as you possibly can. So really lift up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. From here, you can bring your hand down to the mat and then drop your leg still extended down to the mat. But when you drop your leg, your foot should be parallel to the back of your mat. And it should be all the way down on the mat. So from here, you can kickstand the right leg, meaning the right foot out off of your mat so that your right knee is angled to the top left corner of your mat to provide you some balance. And then from here, you can lift your left arm up to the sky for a kneeling side plank. Really, again, opening up in that chest, sending that heart energy out into the world. Rise up into a kneeling position. And then from here, drop your left hand to your extended left leg and bring your right arm over for a gate pose so that you feel the stretch in your right side body. From here, you can cartwheel your hands down to the mat. Bring your kickstand leg back in so that it's the neutral position like you were in your tabletop. And then you can bring that extended leg back in so that you are back fully in that neutral tabletop. So from here, we're going to extend that left arm out in front of us like we're shaking someone's hand, placing that right weight into our right arm. And then we're going to Extend that right leg back, raising it off of the ground into our bird dog. From here, we're going to hold for a count of 5, really engaging. Bring that navel into that spine and send that arm and leg up. That foot should be flexed, and we'll hold here for the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring that lifted hand down to the mat, and then drop that extended leg down to the mat so that that foot is secure on the mat, parallel to the back of the mat. So it's firmly down on the mat, parallel to the back of the mat. Kickstand that left foot out so that your left knee is facing up to the right top corner of your mat. And from here, you can raise that right arm up to the sky for your kneeling side plank. Come into a kneel, so lift up, so you're in a T. And then drop your right hand down to your extended right leg or gate pose, bringing that left arm up and over so that you can feel that stretch in your left side body. From here, cartwheel your hands down to the mat. Bring that kickstand leg in. Bring the extended leg in so you're back into your neutral tabletop. Tuck in your toes and get ready to send your hips up and back for your first down dog of the day. So push up and back into your down dog. First down dog of the day. Your body is like, woo! So do what you need to do to settle into this posture. You can pedal out your feet. You can bend significantly in your knees. You can rotate your head. You can do whatever feels good. The main thing is that your tailbone is lifted up to the sky. Your hands are rooted into that mat. Your torso is moving back towards your thighs. Your gaze is back and down between your legs. Your shoulders are broadening away from your ears. And your legs can have a bend in them, or they can have a micro bend. Your heels can be lifted. They can be on the mat. So we'll stay in this downward facing dog for 2 more breaths. From here, bring your gaze up to your hands, bending your knees, and begin to take small steps forward so that your hands meet your feet meet your hands at the top of your mat in a forward fold. So here in your forward fold, you're going to heel toe your feet out so they're out wide underneath your shoulders. You're going to bend significantly in your knees. And you're going to grab opposite elbows for ragdoll. In your ragdoll, you are going to release. You are going to drop everything down. Head will be heavy, neck will be long. In this posture, the most important thing is for you to release and feel good. So if you need to circle your neck, nod yes and no, shake back and forth, bob up and down, do that now. From here, release your hands down to the mat, heel toe your feet back in so they're directly underneath you, about 2 inches apart. And from here, you're going to inhale yourself into a halfway lift, which looks like a number 7 in your body. So your back is flat, your gaze is out about 3 feet, your hands fall wherever is comfortable. That may be the mat, your ankles, your chin, your thighs. From here, drop back into your forward fold, bringing your chest to the tops of your thighs or getting as close as possible. And then we're going to inhale, circle sweeping our arms up to the sky for a high mountain. Now, we are not home. We are in Quana in the fifth wheel. So our ability to extend is somewhat limited, but you get what we're doing. So we're in our high mountain. We are activated from the soles of our feet up through the tips of our fingertips. Our crown of our head is lifted to the sky. Our navel is pulled in. We are strong through our core, and we are activated, shoulders moving away from our ears. From here, you're going to interlace your right fingers around your left wrist. You're going to extend long through your spine, stretching long, and then exhale yourself over to the right. Making sure that you're not collapsing into that right side of your body and that you are stretching long through that left side. Release those fingers and come back into your high mountain. Interlace those left fingers around that right wrist. Lift up, stretching long through that spine with your inhale, and exhale over to the left. Again, staying long through that left side, really pulling that right arm up to the sky. Release, coming back through center. And from here, swan dive forward into your forward fold. Halfway lift, making that number 7 with your body. Exhale to the forward fold. Plant your hands onto the mat and step your feet back into a high plank. So high plank is the top of a push-up. Your hips are in alignment with the rest of your body. You can always drop to your tabletop at any point in time. So from here, we're going to shift forward onto our tippy toes and lower ourselves all the way down, slowly to the mat. Once you arrive, you will untuck your toes, and we are going to push up into a baby cobra. So push through the tops of your feet, lifting your knees off the mat, engaging in your core, sending your heart forward, gaze out, little to no weight in your hands. If you would like, you can even lift your hands off of the mat. If your hands are lifted, release them down and release yourself down to the mat. Tuck in your toes. Inhale to your high plank and exhale into your downward facing dog. Breath. And from here, you will bring your gaze forward. You will bend in your knees, and you will hop, step, or float to the top of your mat into a forward fold. Now, in your forward fold, you'll toe your feet out again, so they're underneath your hips. And this time, your peace fingers. So how you make peace, you're going to bring those 2 fingers inside of your big toe, wrapping them around your big toe. So from here, you're going to inhale yourself up so that you have a flat back. And then you're going to exhale, bringing yourself down. Your chest is moving towards your thighs. Your elbows should be out east and west. You're really utilizing the hook of your fingers to bring your chest to your thighs. As you are moving, you can start to straighten those legs to help really Bring those legs and then allow that grip to guide your torso back towards those thighs.
You didn't put it on a whole minute, did you? Just 20, 30 seconds.
So here, release that fold. Release those fingers from around those big toes. Heel toe those feet back into about 2 inches apart. From here, come into your halfway lift. Exhale into your forward fold. Inhale, root to rise into your high mountain. And from here, we're going to do our bending over to the side, but we're going to start with wrapping our left fingers around our right wrist, pulling up, going along in the spine, and then tilting over to the left. Actually, is that the right? Yeah, the left, sorry. Got myself all confused. Come back into center, and then wrap those right fingertips around that left wrist. Lift up through the spine, and bend over to your right. Come back through center, releasing those hands. Swan dive forward into your forward fold. Come into your halfway lift. Drop with your exhale into your forward fold. Plant your hands onto the mat. Step back into your high plank. Again, you can drop to a tabletop at any point in time. Shift forward onto your tippy toes and release all the way down. Belly on the mat. Untuck your toes. Bring your hands out a little bit in front of your shoulders. And from here, we're going to push into the tops of our feet, lifting our knees off of the mat, engaging in our core, and pushing up, sending our heart forward, lifting your chest off of the mat into a cobra. So you're going to engage in that core, bring your gaze out and up. There you go, dropping those shoulders away from your ears. Bringing those shoulder blades together, pushing up and back. Then release your torso down to the mat. Bring those hands back directly underneath your shoulders. Tuck in your toes. Inhale up into your high plank. Exhale into your downward facing dog. From here, inhale your right leg up to the sky for a three-legged dog. Those hips are neutral. That foot is flexed, toes facing down to the mat. Your hips should not be stacked. You should not be torqued over to the left side with your weight all in your left hand. Your weight should be distributed equally in your hands. So from here, we're going to bring that lifted leg up and through. Again, you may need to help that leg come through into our low runner's lunge. You will drop that back knee down to the mat, untuck that toe, and come up into your low crescent lunge. Remembering in that low crescent lunge to drop those shoulders away from the ears. Bring those hands down to the mat. And then that back leg, we are going to kickstand it out. So that means that you're going to move your foot over to the right. so that it is off of the mat, so that it provides you with some balance. It can be at a 45-degree angle or it can be at a 90, whatever feels best for you. And from here, we're going to cartwheel our hands up into a warrior two in a kneeling position. So in your warrior two, your hips are open to the left side of your mat. Your front knee should be bent at a 90-degree angle. Your arms should be extended out to a T. Your gaze should be out in front of that right hand. Your torso should be directly over those hips. You should not be leaned too far forward or too far back. From here, you're going to flip that front palm and lift it up and back, dropping that back hand down to your back leg for reverse warrior. From here, you can move through your warrior two, extend, shifting forward, and come into your kneeling extended side angle. So that means that you can bring that right elbow down to your right leg, or you can bring your right hand down to the mat, whatever feels good, or a block, whatever feels good. Then we will sweep that lifted left arm up and over so that our left bicep is right above our left ear. You can bring your gaze up through your armpit, looking to the back of your room. Come back through warrior two. Then sweep the arms up so that you come into warrior one. So in your warrior one, you're going to drop your arms down to your back. You're going to interlace your hands behind you. And then we're going to inhale, moving our shoulder blades towards one another, down our spine, away from our ears. And we're going to exhale, bending forward into a kneeling, humble warrior. So you are going to bring your torso and that right shoulder to the inside of that right knee. Your hands can remain on your back, or you can lift them up to the sky to help give you some leverage to really bend forward in that humble warrior. If your hands are lifted, you can release them down to your back. Release your interlaced hands. And from here, bring your hands to frame your right foot. Your kickstand leg, you're going to bring it back into a normal position where your back foot is towards the back of your mat. And from here, you're going to begin to sit back, extending that front leg out long for half splits. So come up onto your fingertips, bringing or making sure that your back is straight. And then exhale, folding over that extended front leg. So bringing your torso towards your right thigh. Your hips should be neutral, so if you need to, and they should be square to the front of the mat, so if you need to, you can shift your right hip back and your left hip forward. Releasing that fold, bending that front leg, so it's back at a 90-degree angle. Tuck in that back foot or those back toes. Lift that back leg off of the mat so that you're back in your low runner's lunge. And from here, you have the option to either step back immediately into your downward facing dog or go through your version of Vinyasa flow, which is dropping down to the mat, either in a half push-up or all the way down, coming up into baby cobra, cobra, upward facing dog, and then pushing back into downward facing dog. But we'll all meet in downward facing dog. So step back into your high plank, drop down to the mat in the way that you would like. Come up into your back bend of choice, baby cobra, cobra, upward facing dog. If you're upward facing dog, everything is lifted off the mat. Only your palms and the tops of your feet are touching. And then roll over your toes to push back into your downward facing dog. So we're all back in our downward facing dog. From here, we will inhale our left leg up to the sky for three-legged dog, making sure that foot is flexed, toes are facing down to the mat, hips are neutral, weight is evenly distributed in our hands. Then we will begin to lift and shift that leg forward, stepping forward into a low runner's lunge. We will drop that back knee to the mat, untuck those toes, and lift up into our low crescent lunge, bringing those hands up to the sky, dropping those shoulders away from our ears. We will bring those hands down to the mat, framing that front foot. We will kickstand that back leg, so bringing the right foot off of the mat, either at a 45-degree angle or a 90-degree angle to provide us with some support and balance, using it as a kickstand. And we will inhale, cartwheeling our arms up into a warrior two. Again, remembering your hips are open, this time to the right. Your torso is directly over your hips. Your arms are out to a T. Your gaze is out over that left hand. From here, flip that front palm, lift it up and back to your reverse warrior, bringing that back hand to rest somewhere on that back leg. Your gaze is up to the sky towards that lifted hand. Coming back through warrior two, you're going to move into your seated side angle. So that left hand will either be on the mat, a block, or your left elbow can be on your right thigh, or excuse me, your left thigh. That would be difficult to be on your right thigh. That right arm will sweep up and over so that your right bicep is over your right ear. Your gaze is up to the back of the room through that right armpit. Really moving that heart up and out. Move through warrior two, up into warrior two. Then sweep that arm up or down and up into warrior one. So your hips are going to shift. They are going to be moving towards the top of the mat. Arms are lifted up to the sky. From here, we're going to release those hands to our back. And this time, you're going to still interlace your hands, but do it the opposite grip. So your whichever thumb feels uncomfortable, that should be the one on top. All right. So again, inhale, pulling those shoulder blades together, releasing them down your spine so you are long. And then exhale, fold forward, bringing your torso to the inside of that left knee. Your hands can remain on your back, or you can lift them up to the sky. Try to bring those palms together as much as possible. If your palms or your hands are lifted, bring them to your back. Release your hands. Bring your hands down to the mat, framing that front foot. Move that kickstand foot back so that it's facing the back of your mat. And then from here, push yourself back, extending that front leg out for your half splits. In your half splits, remember that you're on the opposite side. It may feel different on the opposite side, which is a-okay. Just you want to make sure to shift that left hip back, that right hip forward so that you're in a neutral position. Come up into a flat back, so lift up into your flat back, and then release down, folding over that front leg. In your half split, Do not lock out your knee. Maintain some form of bend in that knee. That foot should be flexed, toes coming back towards you. Come up, bend in that front leg so it's back at a 90-degree angle. Tuck in those back toes, lift up into your low runner's lunge, and take whatever version you want to take, but we'll all meet in a downward facing dog. So bring that leg back into a high plank. You can drop into your tabletop. You can push down in your downward facing dog. You can do your push-up of choice, back bend of choice, and then we'll all meet in downward facing dog. So we're going to do all of that we've done on the floor standing. So inhale that right leg up to the sky for your three-legged dog. Exhale, stepping through into your low runner's lunge. Drop that back heel down to the mat, toes angled at a 45-degree angle up towards the top left corner of your mat. Open up into your warrior two. So make sure that that front leg is bent 90 degrees or less, torso directly over those hips. Back leg is straight. You are fully engaged in both legs. Arms out to a T, gaze out over that right front hand. Flip that front hand up and back into your reverse warrior. Moving through your warrior two, you're going to come into extended side angle. So that right hand is either going to come to a block the mat, or your right elbow will come to the right thigh. Again, that left arm sweeps up and over so that that left bicep is over that left ear in your extended side angle. Lift up into your warrior two. And then drop that left arm down, sweep it up so that you move into your warrior one. Main thing with your warrior one is that front leg is still bent, but your hips are now neutral towards the top of your mat. So that may mean that you need to shift that right hip back and bring that left hip forward. From here, we're going to drop those arms to our back. We're going to interlace those hands. We're going to inhale, bringing our shoulders blades together and down our spine. And then we're going to exhale, bending forward, bringing our torso to the inside of that right knee into our humble warrior. Those hands can be lifted up to the sky, or they can rest on your back, wherever is comfortable. From here, release your hands down to your mat. Release your fingers and bring your hands down to frame that front foot. We're going to move into a standing L or a standing splits. So you're going to begin to shift forward into that front leg. Begin to lift up, straightening that front leg, lifting that back leg up and off of the mat. Those hands will come out in front of you to provide you with support. And that lifted leg will be as close as possible to an L if you can get there. If you want to try standing splits, then you can go even further. That back foot should be flexed, toes angling towards the mat. Your hips should be neutral. They should not be stacked unless you are trying to move into that splits. From here, you can move your torso towards your thigh. One more breath in our standing L or splits. And then from here, begin to bend in that front leg, releasing that back leg down into your low runner's lunge. From here, step that front foot back to meet the back foot in your high plank and move through whatever version of Vinyasa you want to do. And we will all meet in downward facing dog. All right. So inhale that left leg up to the sky. Exhale, stepping it through into your low runner's lunge. Drop that back heel to the mat and windmill your arms up into your warrior two. Flip that front palm, move up and back into your reverse warrior. Coming through warrior two, move into your extended side angle. Come back through warrior two. Bring that right arm up and through into your warrior one. Make sure to move those hips so that pelvis is neutral. From here, drop those hands to your back, interlace them the opposite uncomfortable way. And from here, inhale, pulling those shoulder blades together, growing long in that spine. And exhale, fold over so your torso comes to the inside of that left knee. Hands can be where it's comfortable. Release your hands down to your back if they are lifted. Unlock those fingertips, bringing those hands to frame that front foot. From here, you can move into your standing L or standing splits. So you're probably up, you have shifted where you're up on the tiptoes of your back foot. Begin to move forward into that front leg, bending and then straightening, lifting that back leg off of the mat for your standing L or your standing splits. Your hands will be out in front of you. Your torso will be moving back towards that left thigh. Hold here for another breath. And then from here, begin to drop that back leg down, coming back into your low runner's lunge. And we will do our last Vinyasa flow of the practice. So step back into your high plank and move through your Vinyasa, and we'll all meet in downward facing dog. So from here, bring your gaze to the top of the mat, bend in your knees, hop, step, or float to the top of your mat in a forward fold. From here, we will lift up and move into a chair. So as you're bringing your arms up to the sky, you're sitting back like you are sitting into a chair. So when you look down, you should be able to see the tops of your toes or see your toes. You should be sitting back into your heels. Your arms can be lifted up to the sky, or you can bring them down to prayer, whichever is most comfortable. And you want to tuck in your tailbone slightly. You don't want it really shooting out. You want it underneath you. Your feet can be together or they can be apart, whatever is good. We will hold here for another breath. Release into your forward fold. halfway lift. So number 7 with your body. Forward fold. Circle sweep your arms up to the sky in your high mountain. And from here, you will lift your left leg off of the mat for a 3-legged mountain. So you have a nice balanced pose. From here, step that left leg all the way back, coming into a warrior 1. So that means that front leg is bent, 90 degrees or less. Those hips are neutral. So that means this one may need to shift back and this one may need to shift forward, but you're in your warrior 1. From here, we're going to rotate to the left side of our mat for a star pose. So just shift over to the left side of your mat, wide side of your mat for star. So your feet are out wide, your arms are out, lifted to the sky. From here, bring your hands to your waist. And we're going to do a forward fold, but with interlaced hands. So you can bring your feet out to wherever is comfortable. If they are where they feel good where they are, then that's fine. You can bring them out wider. You can bring them out or bring them in. But from here, we're going to interlace our hands behind our back. We are going to, again, grow long in our spine, moving our shoulder blades down our spine with the inhale. And then exhale, bending over, bringing the crown of our head towards the mat for our wide-legged forward fold. Those arms can raise up to the sky, helping you get deeper in that fold. If you want to bring the crown of your head closer to the mat, move your feet out wider. Your feet can be parallel to the edges of the mat, or your toes can be coming in slightly with your heels out. From here, if your arms are lifted, bring them down to your back. Unclasp your hands, releasing them down to the mat underneath your face. And from here, you're going to begin to walk your hands to the front of your mat to frame that right foot in a low runner's lunge. That back foot, the heel should be lifted. You should be on your back tippy toes. And from here, you're just going to step that back foot up to the top of the mat to meet the front in a forward fold. From here, you're going to inhale up into your chair. So again, making sure you're sitting back in that chair. You can see your toes. You're sitting back in your hips. Your core is engaged. You have a slight tuck in that tailbone. You can have your arms lifted or they can be in at heart center. We will hold here for 2 more breaths, sitting deeper into our chair. Release into your forward fold. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Lift up with inhale into your high mountain. And from here, we're going to lift that right foot off of the mat into our 3-legged mountain. So you're lifted where your knee is directly out from your hip. We'll hold here. And then we're going to step that foot all the way back to the back of our mat, coming into a warrior 1. So adjust as you need to, making sure you have that 9° less, bend in the front leg, pelvis is neutral. Then we're going to shift over to the right wide side of our mat for our star pose. We will bring our hands to our waist. Again, make adjustments in our feet that we feel are necessary so that we can really move deep into our wide-legged forward fold, bringing that crown down towards the mat. So if you want to bring the crown of your head more towards the mat, you will extend those feet out further apart. They will either be parallel to the top and back of the mat, or your toes can be slightly in. From here, bring your hands to your back, opposite cross. So uncomfortable cross this time. Inhale, bringing those shoulder blades together, moving down your spine. Exhale, bend forward, bringing the crown of your head towards the mat. Really try to get deeper in this fold. Bring those hands down to your mat. Unclasp them, releasing your hands down, or excuse me, to your back. Unclasp them, releasing your hands down to the mat. From here, walk your hands to frame that front foot at the top of your mat. You should be up on the tiptoes on that back foot. And then step that back foot to meet the front foot at the top of your mat in a forward fold. Now from here, if you have your blocks handy, you may want to grab one or two because we're going to move into Malasana, which is our yogi squat. So from here, you're going to move your feet out so they're about mat width distance apart, toes out, heels in. And you want to put, if you're going to use blocks, you want to put them a little bit behind you, behind those heels in the middle of your mat to where you're going, your bum will sit. So basically begin to squat down into your yogi squat. You will bring your hands into heart center, utilizing your upper parts of your arms to push back into your lower part of your legs to come into your yogi squat. Your back should be straight, your heart should be lifted, your gaze should be out. So we will hold here for 2 more breaths. From here, you will release your hands down to the mat and send your hips up to the sky for a forward fold. From here, you'll probably need to heel toe your feet in a bit. Plant your hands into the mat and step back into your high plank. Drop your knees for tabletop. And then from here, we're going to move into camel. Now, we're not going to do full camel. I prefer to do full camel in person versus over Zoom. So we're going to do half camel. So what you're going to do is you're now in tabletop. You will come up onto your knees into a kneeling position. And your knees should be directly under your hips. Toes are untucked. And what you're going to do is place your hands on your butt, like you're putting your hands into your pockets. So you're sliding your hands into your back pockets. From here, you're going to send your hips forward. You want this part of yourself to remain flat and press forward, because what we're going to do is going to do a significant back bend. All right, so this is a great heart opener, but you have to be very careful in camel. So begin to shift those hips forward, bring those shoulder blades together, bringing those elbows together, and then begin pushing your hips forward, releasing your head back. So you're really opening up in your neck, releasing your head back towards your feet. Pushing through those hips, making sure they are forward. Begin to shift up, bringing your head up, which should be the last thing to arrive. And from here, we're going to release our hands down, come back into our tabletop. We will tuck in our toes and push up and back into downward facing dog. Now we're going to move into pigeon. If you want another option versus pigeon, you can always move to your back and do a figure 4 stretch, which is going to do the same thing, provide the same stretch and release in your body. So if you're doing pigeon, inhale that right leg up to the sky. Exhale, bringing that right knee to the back of your right wrist. That foot should be flexed, and you will begin to sit back or sit down, extending that left leg out straight back behind you. Now, if you are doing figure 4, you will be on your back. That left foot will be on the mat, and you will cross that right ankle over your left leg. So if you're in pigeon, you can remain up on your palms, making sure, look back before you go down. If you're going to go down onto your forearm, making sure that back leg is directly behind you. So Tim, thank you. All right. If you're a figure 4, interlace those hands either to the back of your shin or the back of your thigh or the top of your shin, and pull that left leg in towards your body. Whatever position you're in, if that's in pigeon, on your palms, or release down to the floor on your arms, head resting either on your hands or the mat, or you're pulling that leg in for figure 4, you want to feel that stretch in that right side of your hamstring. That is the most important thing. If you are in pigeon and you need some support, you can place a block or a folded towel underneath that right hip if it's lifted off of the mat. If you are released down to the mat, come back up onto your palms. If you are in pigeon pose, tuck in your back toe, and then push up and through, bringing that bent leg back to meet into a downward facing dog. If you are on your back, uncross your leg and bring your feet down to the mat, knees up to the sky. From here, if you're in downward facing dog, inhale that left leg up to the sky. Exhale, bring that left knee to the back of that left wrist. Extend that right leg long out behind you. Look back to make sure that right leg is directly behind you. It is not splayed out to the left or right. If you are on your back, you are going to bring that left leg up to the sky, cross that left ankle over that right thigh. You will interlace those hands behind that that right thigh, or put it on top of that right shin, and pull that leg into your body. If you're in pigeon, you can remain on your palms, or you can lower your head down to the mat. We will all release into the stretch of our left hamstring, and we will be here for a moment. If you are released down to the mat in your pigeon, you can come up to your palms. If you are on your back, begin to release so that you can bring your feet down to the mat. Tuck in your back toe. And then we will all meet in downward facing dog, regardless of where you are. Everyone come into downward facing dog. From here in our downward facing dog, we will all drop to our knees to the mat. We will bring our toes in together, but keep our knees where they are. And we will release our hips down into child's pose. If you need to bring a block or a bolster underneath your forehead, you can do so. And then we're going to bring our arms beside us. So they won't be extended out long. They will be directly beside us. We will rest here for a couple of breaths. And from here, you're going to place and wrap your hands around the bottom of your feet. If you can grab your feet, do so. If not, you can grab another part of your leg. But we're going to move into rabbit. So what you're going to do is to begin to roll onto the crown of your head while you're lifting your hips up off of your heels up to the sky. So it may mean that you are now holding on to your heels, or you may be holding on to your ankles, but you are up on the crown of your head. Your lower part of your body is similar to a tabletop where your hips are lifted up. Make sure that you are not applying a significant amount of weight to the crown of your head. Release your hips back down. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and push up so that you come into a seated position. So move your legs to the side. Whatever feels good. But the main thing is that we're going to be sitting with our bum on the mat. So you may need to wiggle, maybe move your butt out, whatever feels good, so that you're seated firmly on the mat. The soles of your feet rest on the mat. Your knees are angled up to the sky. So from here, bring your hands out in front of you and lower vertebrae by vertebrae down to the mat. So once you have your back firmly on the mat, you can lay your arms out long directly beside you. And from here, you're going to bring your feet in so that your heels basically touch or graze your fingertips. So your feet should be directly under your knees. Again, about hip width distance apart, touching the back of your fingertips so that we can move into bridge pose. So we're going to do bridge twice. The first time we're going to do it in this position, and the second time we're going to do it with our hands interlaced underneath us. All right, so from here, you are going to push through your feet, lifting your hips off of the ground, raising them towards the sky. You can begin to tuck your shoulders underneath you, lifting up onto your shoulders, making sure that your chin is lifted up and is not rested on your chest. Bring your knees in towards one another. You do not want them to flay or splay out. You are rooted firmly in all parts of your feet, lifting those hips up towards the sky, even higher. We will hold here for one more breath, lifting higher in our bridge before we release ourselves slowly down to the mat. So we'll do that one more time. But this time when we lift, we will interlace our hands underneath us and roll onto the tops of our forearms and our shoulder to really get some leverage and to push our hips higher to the sky. So let's do this one more time. Lift your hips up. From here, interlace your hands underneath you and begin to roll onto those shoulder blades so that you're lifted even higher, pushing through the tops of your arms, pushing through the feet to lift those hips up to the sky, making sure that that chin is not tucked into your chest. Pushing through those arms, pushing through those feet, making sure those knees are coming in towards one another. Hold for one more breath, lifting those hips even higher. Let go of your grasp, moving your hands out to your side, and then slowly lower your hips down to the mat. Whew. So bring those knees into your chest. Give yourself a big old hug, a big old thanks, a big old embrace for all that it has done for you today, your body has done for you today in this practice. And from here, release your arms out to a T. Shift your hips over to the right and drop your knees over to the left, bringing your gaze out over that right extended hand for a supine twist. If it feels good, you can close your eyes, or if not, just rest here. Bring your knees in through center. shift your hips over to the left, and then drop your knees over to the right, bringing your gaze over to the left, over the extended left hand. Again, you may close your eyes if that feels good. Come back through center. And from here, we're going to move into our final pose before we move into rest pose. So I would invite you all, because I'm going to be doing this with a block, so that we fully have an inversion, meaning our head is below our heart. So grab a block, lift your feet up to the sky for waterfall, and then lift your pelvis off of the ground so that you can place that block underneath your pelvis so that it's lifted underneath the sacrum, and it will provide you a little more support. You can feel a little bit more comfortable in this waterfall. So your feet are lifted up to the sky. It's like you're standing on the ceiling, so your feet are flexed. Your knees should at least have some form of micro bend in them. And your arms can be wherever it's comfortable. That means they can be extended directly beside you. They could be out to a T. They could be rested one over the other on your torso, or you can place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Whatever feels good to you, do that now. If shoulder stands in your practice, you can move into that if you would like. But if it's not in your practice, please don't. From here, you lift your hips up, remove your block to the side. And then I would invite you to move into your version of Shavasana, which is our final resting pose. So that can mean that you extend your legs out long, about mat width distance apart, letting your feet drop to wherever is comfortable, letting your arms rest to your sides. If you're resting on your back, you can place a pillow or a folded up blanket or towel underneath your head for some lift and some support there. If reclined Shavasana is not your jam, then feel free to sit in a chair, lie on a bed, or sit with your back against the wall. Wherever you are going to find release and rest, I invite you to move into that pose now. If it feels good to you, please feel free to close your eyes. If that is not comfortable for you, find a point out in the distance and maintain a soft gaze. This is your time to rest. This is your time to incorporate all that you have done in your practice today on this mat into your being, moving into that place of peace, stillness, and calm. So I will allow you to do that now. And when it's time to come out of Shavasana, I will guide you out. So I invite you to return back to this present moment, to the here and now, reawakening your body, bringing the calm, peace, serenity, and love and understanding that you have cultivated in this practice out into the world. So begin to reawaken the body by wiggling your fingers, your toes, maybe circling the wrist, the ankles, shaking your head back and forth, moving those shoulders, maybe even bending in the knees, bending in the arms. Once you have reawakened that body, roll over to your favorite side into fetal position, cradling your head with your bottom arm and resting that top hand into Mother Earth, grounding and balancing and connecting with her. Maintaining either that soft gaze or those eyes closed, push yourself up into a seated position and bring your hands to wherever's comfortable. That may be resting them on your knees or bringing them into heart center. So I thank you for this time together, this time to practice, this time to align ourselves in mind, body, and spirit, to move into that state of true alignment, true love, the spirit, and the reason why we celebrate the holiday of Christmas. So thank you again. The divine in me honors, celebrates the divine in you. And I close this practice with Ashe, and so it is. Thank you. How was that for you, Timmy? Good. Good. All right. So I appreciate you all. I wish you all a very, very
Have you
happy.
stopped recording?
I'm still recording. So would you like to share?
No, I enjoyed it. It was
Thank
wonderful.
So I wish you all a very happy holidays, very happy new year. I will see you all if you are part of our BeForYoga, Asana Thursdays. I'll see you on Thursdays. If not, I will see you all on Saturday, the 2nd. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a beautiful Saturday. Goodbye.